G'day guys and welcome to today's tutorial. Today we are talking about the dumbbell floor fly. It's a really good variant for those who actually have shoulder issues when it comes to that final portion of the stretch. So what we notice is that especially with our pec minor and coming down all the way and sort of that bottom section and that bottom position when we're right down low can add a great deal amount of stress and strain and can load up not only our pec minor but also our shoulders if we're not in the correct position, which can lead to all sorts of long-term injuries and discomfort and just stuff that we want to avoid. So the beauty about the floor press is essentially that you can't get down that far. So obviously your elbows are going to be going as low as the floor. That being said, that poses an issue itself, and that you don't want to be just dropping out. You've got to control those negatives. You want to be just touching the floor and then coming back up again. Otherwise you can put yourself, or you can smash your elbows flat on the floor, hit your funny bone and cause yourself all sorts of issues, which I did the very first time that I ever attempted this particular exercise. So by all means guys, make sure that we are controlling our negatives. Right, let's talk about firstly how to set up so that we are really getting most bang for our buck out of this particular exercise, and then we can talk about just the execution and how to actually get the weight up, because being flat on the floor can be a bit of a pain in the ass if you haven't got someone there to hand you the dumbbells. Okay, so what we want to do when it comes to our flat fly, the reason why some people can find themselves in a bit of strife is that when we lay flat like so, and we do the fly itself, we're not in what we call thoracic extension, which is where we get ourselves up and arch our back. And so by just simply arching our back, what happens is that the way our humerus sits into our shoulder joint, our lat comes up and attaches onto our humerus. So when we pull our shoulder blades back and down, not only do we create a nice flat back and a nice stable position to push from, but it actually opens this joint up because it pulls our humerus down. And so it allows us to move quite freely without actually bounding up and bunching up and getting those shoulder injuries. You know when it grabs or it flicks, or hopefully you haven't experienced that, or it just causes discomfort. That there is what we want to avoid. So by laying flat, we don't actually open up that joint. And so when we are doing a fly, we very much overload our anterior head of our deltoid. It's not probably targeting the chest the way we want, and also loading this shoulder joint up and causing all sorts of grief in there. So that's the reason why we put particular importance, and I harp on about our shoulder blades back and down for both our stability and also our opening up of that shoulder joint and allowing injury prevention to occur. So now we're what is it? We're active, not reactive. Okay, so stability is obviously created. Now obviously stability is really not an issue while you're on the floor. You've got your 3 points, there's nowhere really to go, so fantastic stability standpoint. Make sure you're pulling your shoulder blades back and down. We'll talk about what we're going to do about thoracic extension from the bottom point in just a minute, and don't forget our acronym STEP. So we have stability, our next point is tension. So how are we going to create that tension at the bottom, and then we'll talk about execution and performance. Okay, so when it comes to the flat fly and getting into the position of extension, what we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're pulling our shoulder blades back and down, but you can see that it's really not that great of a position just because our feet can't get underneath our backside and really help us along with that thoracic extension, especially when you're a bit tight through your midsection here. So how can we create this big arch while still on the ground? What we are going to do is we are going to get up into a glute bridge, and we're going to worm our feet up as close to our backside as possible. From here, we're going to pull our shoulder blades back and down, and our arms will go where they go for now.
And then what we're going to do with our hips, we're going to push them back towards our leverage point at the top here, or where our shoulder blades are back and down. And what you're going to notice is there's going to be a shift in weight. So you're going to feel as if it wants to slide out, but obviously with all your weight back and on that point, you're just going to create a nice thoracic extension. So again, warm your feet up underneath your backside. We're going to drop our hips towards that point, and what you're going to see is a nice thoracic extension come up. Okay, and then from here we'll open up and we'll do our fly. Okay, so let's add some dumbbells to this. So obviously, again, the dumbbells can be a bit of a pain in the ass to get up and into position. So what I tend to do is I will start with these on my knees. I'll then use my momentum to rock back and put the dumbbells up. Then I'll worm my feet in, because you'll see that I can just rest my elbows on the ground. The weight will transfer through my forearms and I'll press it up from that position. Okay, so here we go. Up onto the knees, rock it back, and then we are good to go. Now from here, hips up, worm the feet, sit yourself, find that point, drop an arch. All right, we're in spot here, and I'm going to press up. Now, with our fly, what we're going to do is we're going to come out nice and wide until we touch the ground, so control that negative, and come back up again. Now, because the way the gravity works is that once we're in this position here, our chest really switches off, and it switches off because now the weight is not outside the lines of our shoulders, which means the pecs can really just turn off and not do a great deal. What we are going to do is we're going to overemphasize the internal rotation, and we're going to squeeze our pecs a little bit harder in order to keep them activated the entire time. So we're going to come out nice and wide, okay, touch and pause, up, and then we're going to think pinkies to pinky to pinky, and back down again. Okay, again, pinky to pinky, and really squeeze that chest, and you'll feel it come alive, and hopefully you won't have any shoulder issues when you're doing this exercise because of the arch. And also the fact that you're not going all the way down below your chest line with your elbows, and obviously it's a lot shorter range of motion. But team, that there is how you want to go about doing your flat dumbbell fly off the floor. I hope that you pick up a few tricks and tips out of this short tutorial and go chase those gains.